Welcome to session 3 of our series, Turning the World Upside Down. These are introductory videos to help you get the conversation started in your groups. Session 3 is when our comfort zone becomes our danger zone. And what we're looking at is we're looking at the book of Acts. We saw in Acts 1 and Acts 2, it was where the early church is birthed, where they moved from Jesus being with them to him commanding them about going and making disciples and teaching others, and how that played out in the early church. We see how they lived in Acts 2. In session 2, we saw how the early church became a threat as Jesus had been, and we see how they are arrested, and we ended session 2 with the martyrdom of Stephen as he was stoned for proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ. We also, at the end of session 2, were introduced to Saul. Saul, who was Jewish, he knew the law, and he persecuted Christians because he didn't believe that Jesus was the Messiah. He was staying true to the tradition of Judaism. And our focus in this session is on the conversion of Saul, yet we're going to take a little different perspective. Our focus will include Saul, but it will be the person who stepped out of their comfort zone. It was Ananias. And we meet Ananias in the conversion story of Paul. Let's talk a little bit about Acts 8 to begin with. It's important to note that after Stephen's martyrdom, that what we see is the church scatters. They use the word in Acts 8 of a scattering because of persecution to Judea and Samaria. In Acts 8:3 says this, that Saul was ravaging the church by entering house after house, dragging off both men and women. He committed them to prison. And this is Saul, who we are going to focus on his conversion. Acts 8:4 says, now those scattered went from place to place proclaiming the word. Despite the persecution, they were continuing to spread the word, the good news of Jesus Christ. They were turning the world upside down. We see a story of Philip in Acts 8 as well, but our focus during your discussion time is Acts 9. Our reading tells the story of Saul's conversion, yet as I said, we're focusing on Ananias. Paul was dangerous. Ananias was a disciple, a follower of Jesus, of what the early church was preaching. He knew of Saul, and Saul was dangerous. He was dangerous. Yet, he is going to play an important role in the conversion of Saul. And Saul's name changes to Paul, and he becomes an incredible leader, a great missionary as a Christian on proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ. But I want you to spend some time in his story, in his conversion, particularly as you answer the questions about what actions Ananias had to take as God led him to move outside of his comfort zone. You see, our focus is on turning the world upside down. That's what we'll see later in Acts as the early church is known as those who are turning the world upside down. And though Ananias, it may not have been this huge public big deal, it is such a significant thing that challenges us to consider what it means to move outside of our comfort zone. Just as we looked at the uncommon vision of the early church in session 1, as we looked at how the early church spoke boldly and courageously, turning the world upside down, we see how actions play a role in turning the world upside down. Be sure to read the readings that are noted in your study guide and enjoy your conversation as you consider what it means to turn the world upside down through the good news of Jesus Christ, through through moving outside of our comfort zone.